Polestar is to Volvo what AMG is to Mercedes-Benz. Naturally, then, the V60 Polestar is a performance-tuned version of Volvo's compact station wagon, and wow! Just wow! To transform this otherwise innocuous automobile into a legitimate sports car, Polestar massages Volvo's turbocharged and supercharged 2.0-liter four-cylinder engine so that it produces 362 horsepower at 6,000 RPMs and 347 pounds-ft of torque between 3,100 RPMs and 5,100 RPMs. The result is acceleration to 60 mph in a claimed 4.5 seconds. Upgrades also included a fortified 8-speed automatic transmission, all-wheel drive, specially tuned steering, and a reworked suspension including 80% stiffer springs than the sporty V60 T6R design, as well as a carbon fiber reinforced front strut brace. Ventilated, slotted, floating Brembo front brake discs are clamped by 6-piston Brembo calipers, and larger ventilated rear discs are installed. They rapidly and absolutely coat the almost obscene 20-inch Polestar wheels in brake dust, and 245/35 Michelin Pilot Super Sport Summer Performance tires ensure maximum grip. Subtle styling changes stealthily signal the V60 Polestar's performance potential to observers, while the cabin receives performance seats with significant side bolsters, a necessity given how the wagon tackles corners. Everything comes standard, except for metallic paint and a raft of dealer-installed accessories. To see if this tweaked wagon hauls a family as well as it hauls ass, Daily News Auto's editor Christian Wardlaw and his wife, contributing writer Liz Kim, spent a week driving a bright silver V60 Polestar wearing a price tag of $62,595, including the destination charge of $885. For the record, an equivalently optioned V60 T6R design runs $53,015. Making the Polestar treatment a $9,580 upgrade. This is her story. She says, "Polestar. Wasn't that a character's name in Magic Mike? Or the type of actor California's San Fernando Valley is famous for creating? In any case, at first glance, this Volvo won't be mistaken for a flashy performer anytime soon. It's as staid and unassuming as a vehicle could be. Unlike the latest, Thor's power drill introductions from Sweden, this V60 is the automotive equivalent of a white polo tucked into some khakis." The chiclet-sized Polestar badges front and rear, along with the big 20-inch wheels, might be a giveaway, but without the available look-at-me rebel blue paint color, a V60 Polestar is a bit drab. But this is part of the appeal of this niche vehicle. It looks like something a school office manager might drive, but it can blow the doors off just about anything at this price point when taking off from a four-way stop. Challenge a V60 Polestar without the proper equipment, and you won't even know what hit you. Inside, aqua-threaded stitching brightens up a mix of black leather and suede. The odd clear plastic shifter treatment instantly made me want to clumsily attack it with a pair of scissors, as I do the indestructible clear packaging on small items purchased at Costco. Despite this somewhat cheap-looking detail, this Volvo is refined without being flashy. It lacks the subdued opulence of newer Volvos, but there's no question that the materials are high quality and assembled with care. He says. Except for the pornographic wheels and tires, and those aqua blue Polestar badges, you'd never guess that this otherwise boring Volvo is ready to spank a long list of unsuspecting victims. And in station wagon form, no less. Actually, this is a rather rakish car. Jack it up a few inches, throw 3 pointed star emblems on it, and a certain German automaker might even call it a coupe. Snugged down onto its oversized rims, the V60 Polestar has a clean, balanced, and unapologetically Volvo-esque appearance, the giant wheels visually lessening the unfortunate visual weight 60 series cars carry up front. Premium materials give the V60's cabin an appropriately upscale look, feel, and scent, but many of the parts and pieces creak under pressure. Design appears haphazard, especially in relationship to vent placement, while the tiny infotainment system display underscores the V60's advancing age. Nevertheless, the mixture of leather and simulated suede, Polestar blue stitching, carbon fiber pattern trim, and silver accents provides enough contrast to keep the relentlessly black cabin from feeling like a cave. He says, Volvos are long known for providing superior comfort, and the V60 Polestar is no exception despite the significant performance bolstering included with its unique front seats. Finding an ideal driving position is easy, and everything from the shape of the steering wheel rim to the padding on the armrests and door panels is designed to maximize satisfaction. With that said, the V60 is a small car. The fit is snug, especially in the back. Even our kids weren't particularly happy, which means that adults, especially those of the taller variety, definitely won't be. On a positive note, Volvo does provide air conditioning vents, heated rear seats, and plushly padded front seat backs that are kind to knees and shins. Still, grown-ups won't wish to be riding back there for long. She says, slipping into the V60's driver's seat is like getting into the heated sheets of a massage table. Its deep padding and ergonomically correct bolstering hugs your body in all the right places. Volvo should sell reclining furniture and call it a day. Beyond that, every surface that you would rest your elbows upon is soft and cushy, and a Scandinavian aesthetic permeates the cabin with minimalist but fancier than German touches. Curiously missing, however, are ventilated front seats. Rear seat passengers might take issue with a front seat occupant's comfort, for their accommodations are not as generous. It's a tight squeeze, even for the small of stature, because of the V60's compactness. Even our grade school daughters complained about how little space there was for their feet, one of whose legs are suspended in mid-air as she is still in a booster seat. While I'm on the subject of seating, our biggest source of whining related to the rear child safety locks. We couldn't figure how to disengage them during our week with the V60, as the usual remedy, which is a little switch on the door jamb, wasn't present on the car. This meant our almost 9-year-old had to wait to be let out, every time. And Chris, may I remind you that you got stuck back there during evaluation and had to call me from the car to open the door for you. We've never had this problem in any test car, and it should be more obvious how to disengage the child safety locks. He says. To adjust the child-proof door locks, the V60's owner must remove the key blade from the remote fob, and then use it to twist a switch that is located inside of a little hole in rear door jamb. I actually tried this, but it still didn't resolve the problem. Maybe I didn't turn the switch far enough. Or maybe I turned it too far. Either way, yes, I forgot about their engagement and then locked myself into the back seat. I had the remote fob with me, but that didn't help. I'm glad you were home, because I would have struggled to climb over the front seats and exit through one of the front doors. On the one hand, I'm happy that Volvo over-engineers its products for safety's sake. On the other hand, because resolving this situation was not a quick flick of a switch, it became an increasing irritant, but not one great enough to explore much further than I did, apparently. She says. Volume knob? Check. Tuning knob? Kind of. Aside from the V60's petite dimensions, the infotainment system was the source of my biggest complaint with this Volvo, which is essentially a 7-year-old car with a 7-year-old user interface. The main features of the dashboard's center stack of controls included a numerical keypad, which is surrounded by a ring of function buttons, which itself is flanked by combination knobs buttons to adjust primary stereo, climate system, and infotainment system operations. Little about the setup is intuitive. Take, for example, the numerical keypad that is used to store favorite radio stations. When the navigation map is displayed on the screen, it no longer performs that function, becoming instead a navigational element. This means that when you have the map up for reference and you want to switch from one station to another, you either need to go back to the radio screen first, itself a multi-step operation, or remember to use the radio controls on the steering wheel. Even when you're on the radio screen, when you're listening to satellite radio, you can't easily dial up or down to the next station if they're in different genres. Of course, lots of people simply set a handful of stations and don't do a whole lot of exploring. But some people enjoy listening to more than just 9 stations. The Volvo makes it hard to do that. Another problem with this vehicle is the lack of practical storage space around the cabin. There are few places to put your phone or house keys, and the small bin behind and underneath the center stack interface is too small to be functional. The center console bin is small too, although the glove box is quite deep. I wasn't crazy about the lack of rubberized linings in the door bins, as this is where I wound up stashing the keys. They rattled around in there with every stop, go, turn, and bump. He says. Driving the V60 makes you realize just how good Volvo's new Sensus tablet-style infotainment system is. Installed in the S90, V90, and XC90, the latest version of Sensus looks and works like an iPad or smartphone. I have my complaints with that system, but compared to the mess that is used in the V60, it's a model of simplicity and user-friendliness. For a company that has built its reputation on safety, the amount of distraction associated with the V60's infotainment system is unacceptable. And the controls on the dashboard represent a rare example of Volvo prioritizing aesthetics over functionality. Conceptually, the V60's infotainment system works like those from Audi, BMW, and Mercedes-Benz, each of which has historically offered multi-layered setups without a touchscreen display. The difference here is that Volvo puts the screen controls on the same panel with the primary radio and climate controls, and with miscellaneous secondary functions like the heated steering wheel and rear seat folding button, mixing and matching and cramming everything into a narrow space that leaves lots of empty real estate on the dashboard's center stack. We put almost 600 miles on this car, and I never acclimated to this setup. Maybe an owner would. Eventually. One thing I do like about the V60 is that Volvo provides a slot that holds the key fob in the dashboard. It is located right beneath the engine start button, and while using it is not a requirement to start the car, I made a habit of it anyway. As a result, I never found myself wondering, where the hell did I put the key? He says. If I owned a V60 Polestar, I would lose my driver's license within a year. It absolutely begs to be driven hard and fast, and the temptation to dust unsuspecting punks in Camaros, Challengers, and Mustangs is difficult to resist. Though it is an expensive upgrade, the Polestar treatment is worth every penny if you strongly value maximum performance. Do not buy this car because it is the most expensive and most exclusive version of the V60 and, therefore, must be the best. Why not? The suspension tuning, over time, could require a visit to a chiropractor. And the pricey tires, with their short and stiff sidewalls, don't help. Plus, the giant brakes are grabby and coat the wheels in brake dust seemingly within minutes of leaving the car wash. The steering is heavy too, and the engine's power delivery can be somewhat uneven thanks to low RPM lag. But, my God, what a rush! flick the transmission shifter into sport mode, and the V60 Polestar rides its towering wave of torque and horsepower like Kelly Slater at Oahu's pipeline, its performance-tuned exhaust system farting in satisfaction with each transmission upshift. Thanks to all-wheel drive, the mighty wagon powers around corners from a stop without a hint of torque stir or slip, making it easy to jump into traffic. And out on a writhing mountain road, it is utterly brilliant to drive, featuring quick and precise steering, utterly faithful brakes, useful paddle shifters, and Gorilla Glue levels of grip. When you're not driving it like you stole it, the ride quality wears you down. Speed bumps near the elementary school threaten to fuse vertebrae. Dips and whoops in the pavement excessively jostle occupants. The performance tires generate plenty of racket on the highway, and their size appreciably broadens the V60 Polestar's turning radius. Finally, it is hard to bring this car to a smooth stop thanks to the track-ready braking components. During testing, one potential issue cropped up that made me question the drivetrain's potential for longevity. Under full throttle acceleration in sport mode, and when not using the paddle shifters, the car would hit the rev limiter momentarily before finally upshifting, and the shift was both loud and harsh, as though Thor himself was whacking the 8-speed Geartronic transmission with his hammer. When using the paddle shifters, no problem. Under part throttle acceleration in either normal or sport mode, no problem. You might want to consider an extended warranty of some kind. She says. Oh lordy, this thing is a rocket. It launches you from here to the hereafter in a matter of nanoseconds, and snaps your head back while doing it. Driving the V60 Polestar reminds me of the once fun but now vomitous roller coasters at Southern California's Six Flags Magic Mountain theme park. I know that Volvo turns this car up to 11 when you switch the transmission to sport mode, but the regular mode was plenty for me. The thrust comes at you hard and fast, and there's plenty of acceleration throughout the rev range. I hooted and chortled while racing up a steep hill at extra-legal speeds, and the car had plenty of juice left for additional hooliganism. The engine's got a willing accomplice in the suspension, which I thought was compliant enough around town but lets you cling the road like a kitty stuck in a tree while pushing the car through hairpin turns. Yes, it hits speed bumps hard, but I expect this in a performance-tuned automobile. The steering is heavy but precise and clearly transports information from the road to the driver's hands. The brakes require some effort to use too, but I was able to quickly acclimate. This is not a serene vehicle, unlike most Volvos that offer a quiet, composed, and isolated ride. It's quite loud inside from road thrum and engine noise, and the way that the exhaust farts when the car upshifts in sport mode caused giggles from our girls. Also, the hyperactive engine's charm wears thin after your noggin hits the head restraint every damn time the accelerator is pushed. But darn it all if you don't get to your destination a few ticks faster than you would have with a regular V60. Her verdict? Yes, it's fast. Yes, it's a thrill to drive. But at this price point, I need a good dose of luxury and comfort, and our test car was lacking in both. The Volvo is refined, for sure, but, as it is an older vehicle, it has an antiquated infotainment system, quirky features that are difficult to figure out how to use, and it is just way too tight for this family of four. The quirkiness tends to rankle me. There are people who love odd, esoteric vehicles, like old Saabs. I never understood the appeal, as I still bear a scar from catching my finger on a weirdly designed convertible latch on a Saab convertible. Still can't stand the sight of them. I like my vehicles well designed and well engineered, not weird for the sake of being weird. If that makes me a mainstream sellout, so be it. I understand the appeal of its beastly performance hiding under an incognito skin, but most people who can afford to drop more than 60 large on a car don't mind having a little flash and sizzle to show for it. If I had the kind of cash the V60 Polestar requires, I would opt for the increased versatility and premium features of the Audi Q7 3.0T. Yes, it would take a second or two longer to move the Audi from 0 to 60 mph, but it's still athletic and fun to drive, and a lot more practical to own. His verdict: what price exclusivity? In the Volvo V60 Polestar's case, just under $63,000, making it a comparative bargain. This, combined with sharp focus on performance, safety, and utility, means this hyperactive V60 meets most of my requirements in a new car. Where the Volvo misses the mark is with regard to functionality. The rear seat is too tight. The infotainment system is, as President Trump might characterize it, a disaster. And while this evidently didn't might the V60 Polestar's stiff suspension tuning, my half-decade older and deteriorating back would appreciate a softer ride for daily driving. Still, given the V60's rarity, compounded by the fact that Volvo plans to bring just 200 Polestar-labeled S60 and V60 models to the US, I'm certain that people like me, who don't want to drive the same thing everyone else does, will be quite happy with this ultra-exclusive and undeniably quirky automobile. Would I buy one? Let's put it this way, I would be tempted.